This book is dedicated to my students because without you, it wouldn't have happened. It began as people in classes asking me to write down some of the exercises we did or some of the expressions. And so it began as a pamphlet. And I thought it was beginning to talk about essence. And when I got into it, I realized this is really 3 books, and that what I needed to start with was the foundation, the basic principles. And so 290 pages later, this is simply the orientation to the basic principles of the work. The next book, Essence, I'll go more into the psycho-spiritual relationship, but this works for everybody. This is like the ground rules of the work, right? It's where we begin. And so I felt like orientation was really important. One of the burning questions for most people is, what is authenticity? And how do I be an authentic human being, right? And so what is it to be authentic? You know, is it a thought? Is it a feeling? And how do you know to trust that what you're thinking or feeling is true? How do you know it's authentic? How do you know it's the truth? So, this book, Holy Here, Holy You, Discovering Your Authentic Self, is all about that. I'm giving you a basic energetic roadmap here to begin to navigate this landscape, to orient the reader. And along with these, I give a lot of principles and clarify that. So we have fairy tales all over the place, like Hansel and Gretel losing their way. This is to orient our way, okay?
I'm over there, you told me.
Please. Oh, and this is Diane Sontag of the Holy Holy Girls, Holy Holy Tribe, and of her own accord, the music with she and Alex. Yeah, thank you, Diane. Thank you. So, the story of Hansel and Gretel really is about what it takes to reclaim our life, right? The whole book is about trusting what's true, trusting the guidance, and returning back to our wholeness, right? And so to live authentically asks for wholeness. And if wholeness requires that we look at all parts of the whole, then anything that we do, think, say, or feel has to be congruent. And that's a big order. So how do we do that without judgment, without criticizing ourselves or criticizing another? You know, that's a tricky edge. Or without denying or repressing that, right? And so this dilemma asks us to presence the most fundamental principle of all, the law of opposites. And the beauty about the law of opposites, this has been a principle taught through the Upanishads, right? Through the Tao Te Ching, the yin and the yang. It's taught through the Quran in the 99 names of God, right? So within the name, which we're calling a vibration, right? The vibration of whatever we think, do, say, or feel, there is an opposite to that. And within the opposite is the answer. Like the antidote for the dilemma is revealed. So we have to first orient to, where am I? Recognize that. And then include what we're not including. So most people get stuck on the thing. I'm right and they're wrong, right? Any of that, or this is good and that's bad. And so with this work, we're asked to include all of that, what we reject or neglect, and bring that into our awareness as well. And sometimes we're not even aware of it. So when I ask someone to be aware of that, they'll say, well, there's nothing here. But that's it. It's nothing. It's no thing. It may be felt as space or an emptiness, right? And that's what we're asking to include, because that's the dynamism between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. The feminine is the viscera, is the charge. The masculine is the spaciousness. The feminine is the embodiment, and the masculine is the piercing awareness, right? And when we bring those two together, something new happens, a new kind of creation. So I'm going to read a little. Thank you, Diane. And so the secret is that if we include everything that we already know, see, and feel, and also include what we don't know, see, or feel, allowing both to be present in our awareness without prejudice, we can then open ourselves up to the spaciousness of an unknown, mysterious reality and the generous gift it has to offer. The pure, expansive nature of spaciousness is unbiased, neutral, and without preference. From here, we can move in several directions simultaneously. We can be with the energy of any contractive thought, pain, or sensation, while at the same time including the larger field of unknowing, which is devoid of object or thing. Spaciousness holds these opposites, letting go to the arising presence of the mystery. Everything is possible. We will explore this concept more in the next chapter. The energies of our conditioned patterns are like magnetic generators, drawing us to anything that is of resonant, matching frequency. It is happening all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. But I assure you that once you cultivate a clear understanding of how you're perpetuating limitation, your life can't change. But if you include that, your life is going to change, and I mean really change. So be willing to consider the deeper question. Do I really want to change? There's a joke in my groups that arises year after year about how classes should come with a warning. Join at your own risk. If you're not open to change, this course is inappropriate. In my groups, nearly all participants will experience either a job change, promotion, relationship change, or a residence move in process of recognizing energy patterns that don't serve their highest good. In some classes, folks have experienced all three changes as they've learned to trust what is true comes with ease, and what is not is a struggle. If you are struggling, look at what's not in alignment with your truth. When you allow objectivity rather than indulging the auto pattern, you are guided in mysterious ways. You become an instrument of Source, your will aligning with divine will and amplifying the outcome. Eventually, your alignment with divine guidance becomes so natural that going against it causes suffering. Thus you learn to develop impeccable precision of clarity, along with the ability to live with one foot in both worlds, the seen and unseen, the known and the unknown, embodying both your human potential and celestial heritage. Okay. And so, what are we playing with here? It's the relationship between separation and inclusion. Really that simple. If there's one thing to get out of this, that would be a lot. Okay, so I'm going to read again. Are there any more chairs behind you? There's some
one here.
chairs back there. Okay, thanks. Here's a crazy thought. Judgment is based on a truth we cut off from ourselves, but project out onto our relationship with another person, situation, or thing. What's brilliant here is that our judgment may be based in fact, but it becomes distorted when we isolate, criticize, or use it to create separation. We often do this so that we can hang on to the feeling of having been treated unjustly in life. And then we keep on proving it over and over again. All projections, all judgments are projections, right? And so we really get to see that through our relationship with ourself and other. When we look honestly at what is here and own what's not working in life without making up stories or excuses, and allowing ourselves to see the situation purely, without judgment, we will expose sabotaging thoughts that have created this reality in the first place. Okay? Say, for instance, you want a car, a house, or a vacation, but you don't see how it's possible. You say, I want such and such, but I can't afford it because. And then proceed to defend all the reasons why you can't, thus reinforcing the limitation based on past conditioning. So really, all that it has to do with now is that we keep repeating the same story, right? Whatever the story is, whether it's the objects are relationships or, homes or jobs or whatever it is, right? As an example, I did this. And when I was 32, I had, within a year and a half, 5 car engines blow up. And I moved 5 times in that same year and a half. 5 car engines, 5 moves, all beyond my control. And what precipitated it was I was leaving a relationship of 13 years that had been really damaging, not a healthy relationship, but I was terrified to separate. I was terrified to go out on my own. I could no longer ignore that this was a pattern, because in my first 2 years of life, the first year and a half, I was passed between 5 different families beyond my control. So there was an early pattern that was already laid down. So I had to look at this. I couldn't go around it anymore, right? And we all have some kind of pattern. Like if you begin to reflect, what is the pattern you've repeated, right? There'll be something that goes on that's asking to be looked at. And so I'll read you my solution. And I'm calling this part of the chapter Stepping Back in Wonder. Stepping back, let's pause for a second to consider some of the repeating patterns in your life. What message from your unconscious is asking to be awakened? Like the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty, what magic kiss will open the kingdom? What hidden message is waiting to be decoded? Take the scenario of my 5 car engines blowing up. I could have stayed stuck in the fear, feeling like a victim. Yet I believed on some level there was a hidden message to be discovered. When I allowed myself to have a more spacious look, I was able to see what would not have been possible from a more limited view, especially the view of feeling victimized, right? I was able to see a truth that was bigger than I had been aware of. I felt it popping the illusion, offering me a brand new start. I allowed it to reorient me to a new way of life, a life I had not known before. And how did that happen? It happened because I was willing to ask myself the question. So, if a car is a vehicle, what does the vehicle symbolize? My body. And what part of the vehicle kept breaking down? The engine. So if my body is the vehicle, what part would cause me to stop in my tracks if it malfunctioned? There could be a lot of answers here, but primarily, if the brain stops, the body can still go on living. But if the heart stops, everything in the body will cease. So for me, the engine represented my heart. And what does the heart represent? Love. Does someone else's love run my vehicle? Or is self-love needed to keep my engine running? Which one is sustainable? Self-love. It places a great burden on others to attempt to fill our lack of love for self. And it causes great angst for us to desperately grasp outside of our own self to gratify the deficiency. So this isn't light reading, but it is soul enriching. Yeah, 174. Our freedom occurs when we no longer make up stories about the meaning of things and let go to the breathing luminosity of our pure nature. In this living moment of creation is the invitation to hold on to nothing and arrive here. And here is home. So, the Wizard of Oz is the quintessential essential story of coming home, right? And if we look at all parts of that story as all parts of self, it's a profound story. So Dorothy's was the burning desire to return home. And home is none other than our soul. It's our essential nature. It's the essence of our being. It's our wholeness. That's home. Home is where I am. It's not someplace out there, right? So each one of us is a brightly burning light of our original expression. Yet I, like Dorothy, was seeking outward confirmation. And how do we access the wholeness of our soul? First is to acknowledge our 3 centers, we have the intelligence, we have the emotion, and we have the instinct, right? And what did that represent in The Wizard of Oz, right? The scarecrow. Nope. Right? Who was this? The Tin Man, right? Metal defense. So what did the scarecrow? Scared us. There's all that wishy-washy. And then the heaviest defense, metal, against feeling in the heart, right? And then the lion was courage, the instinct, right? The courage to be in our own body, to have our own life force energy, to claim our vitality and our personal expression, to be wholly here, wholly you, in your wholeness, right? To bring whatever this creator, creation, source energy is, and to inhabit it in this vessel, to embody our wholeness, and to allow that expression its freedom. For it's really not ours to block. And when we do, it's terribly painful, right? And so this love is asking us to include it all. And what do we have with the ruby slippers? Tell me about those ruby slippers. I mean, think about it. So in this work, the red essence is referred to ruh, which is a Persian word, or ruh, which is a Hebrew word, right? Ruh, which is the Arabic word, right? So we have all these languages that at the heart of the heart, they have an expression for soul, but it actually literally means soul in our body, like it's enmeshed in our body. What happens when a person dies? The dying process takes time as the soul begins to tug and separate from the flesh it so loves, right? And some of you will feel the palpable release, or the essence or the feeling of that person as their soul lets go and leaves the flesh. The problem is the ego identifies itself with the flesh. And so we have this entanglement between an idea of who I think I am and the actual beingness of the I amness I am, right? So I'm going to read some more. So if we look at the story of The Wizard of Oz, Toto would be intuition. It's that intuitive knowing. It's the knower that knows, right? And what happens at the end of the story, we're going to skip far ahead. Toto jumps out of the balloon, right? And then Dorothy has to run after Toto. So she doesn't get to leave Oz. And so Dorothy chases after him and watches the balloon fly away without her. And this has been her ultimate dream, right? To go home. Yet hers is the realm of essence. It doesn't constitute matter in the way that she thought. And she's encouraged by the inhabitants of Oz to seek the good witch, Glinda. And Glinda would be the representation of the point of light, the light within us that illuminates our soul, right? And so Glinda tells Dorothy that the very slippers she wears are her soul. And they have the magic to take her home all along, and that all she needs to do is click her heels together 3 times. And what does that do? She's aligning her 3 centers, right? In Hebrew, the word Oz implies strength, and as denoted by the red shoes, which the red essence in this work means strength, all along she has been navigating the edge of strength and vulnerability, evolving her relationship to self. A variation of the name Dorothy means gift of God, suggesting the fall from grace and the return that must be made in order to find her way back to unity. So it's a way of saying the ego taking over and not letting what's essential show up in life. For Dorothy's is the path of the mystic, and the scripture of the mystic is to experience human nature. To be free, she must develop the capacity to see the point of view of each person. She must know the constellation of all the characters of her internal world, as well as an external view. She must be able to openly see the reason behind all reasons, bridging the heart of the matter. She needs to see into the very essence of others' lives and to view her life from an open, unprejudiced stance of unconditional love, recognizing that the body and the mind are vehicles through which the soul can experience life. So begins one's journey toward immortality. I'm going to read so this is the last thing I'll read. And it's really an anthem to all of you. To live authentically is to cultivate and value the preciousness of being that we truly are, and to grow through love any part of self that doesn't yet know its genuine beauty. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah. So, it's a full meal, and it's just the orientation. But there's a lot there. You can just open to any page in the book, and there'll be some part to reflect upon in your own life, just to help guide along. So, signing books. Everybody gets a bookmarker. So I'm going to just pass out some bookmarks here. And there's more if you want that you can give away. I'll have more. Yeah. I need to get some more. Thank you so much for coming down here. All right. So Orca has been really gracious to host this today, and so if you would like to purchase books, up at the desk there, they've got some books. And if you get a book, then I can sign it or write something. And there's some chocolates next to these beautiful flowers to tempt you. So are there any questions? Any questions about any of this? Yeah, I can sign if you have your book with you. Yes. And anybody who was part of Kickstarter, we have to do that outside of the car, the store, because this is to support the store and their sales here today. And so if you're part of Kickstarter, I can mail your book or I'll see you somewhere. Some of you, if that. I do, and we play with these principles all the time. And it's astonishing how many ways it can express itself. So it's the first 3 Mondays. The class is called Gifts of Being from 7 to 9 at Heart of Wellness. It's donation drop-in, and it's a great place to practice and experiment and get to know oneself, like really your true self. The reason it's called Gifts of Being is because we come with a dilemma or a concern or a question. In the end, essence always arises, and the potency, it's like the law of opposites. What we're willing to show up to, the grace of that comes through, and it answers. That's your guidance. I'm not the teacher. You're your own teacher. That teacher's within you. I'm just a facilitator. I've just been on this path a long time, that's all. Yeah, but it's for you to connect with your inner guru, your inner guidance, and that I can do. I can help with that. I've learned a lot of the tricky edges and write about it in here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.